Hey, what's up, wonderful family? Welcome to the Swahili classes for the weekend. I do hope that you're doing wonderful, and I do hope that your weekend has been fantastic. My name is Spikes, and this is the Swahili class for the weekend, and I do hope that you are able to catch up. And maybe perhaps if you're joining us for the very first time, thank you so much. This is where we get to connect and interact and learn a bit of Swahili. This is courtesy of the BlackHotFire. In case you haven't checked out the official network website, please make sure you do, because if you head over to www.blackhotfirenetwork.com, you will be able to find what's good on the network on there. You'll be able to find a couple of our shows. You'll be able to find blogs. You'll be able to catch up with the latest news. You'll be able to also visit the store page. And you can also be able to listen to a couple of our podcasts on there. And you can also join the community of the BlackHotFire simply by clicking on the social tab. If you see the icon here, this is the social icon. If you click on that, you will be able to sign up and join the rest of the family on there. Every other weekend, we are able to connect and learn Swahili as a family on here. And we do this because we do believe that as Black people globally, we do need a platform, or we do need to be able to connect better. And we can be able to achieve that through the language of Swahili. Before we start off, I've played as a jam. This is known as Sana Sana by one and only Dan Aseda. Dan Aseda is a Kenyan artist. He has done his music in Swahili. It's a beautiful song. If you would like to hear more of his music, check him out. Dan Aseda. This is DANSEACEDA. Dan Aseda. And on that particular jam, the song has a couple of proverbs. You know, in Swahili we call them methali. So that particular jam has a couple of them. And one of the things that he does say is that dalili ya mvua ni mawingu, which is actually a very, very popular proverb, which means that, when you do see clouds gather, then you realize that there will be rain anytime soon. Dalili ya mvua ni mawingu, which is a very, very popular one. Mawingu means clouds. So if someone says dalili ya mvua ni mawingu, they simply mean that if you do see clouds gather, then it's about to rain. That is exactly what it means. And apart from that, he also does say, lisemwalo lipo kama halipo laja. That is to mean that whatever is being said, whatever happens to be the news of the day, or whatever happens to be said going around, that might eventually happen. Lisemwalo lipo, whatever is said, lisemwalo is there or it's about to happen. So whatever is being said is actually there or it's about to happen. So that is also another popular Swahili proverb, lisemwalo lipo, na kama halipo laja. That is simply to mean whatever is being said is actually there, or if it's not there, then it's going to happen. So that is also another popular proverb that is being shared, or medali is being shared on there by Dan Aseda. We shall also check out what is going on with proverbs at some point in this particular class. But for now, I want to bring our attention to the fact that we do have 5 vowels in Swahili, and you can actually use your palm to show these particular 5 vowels. The A, E, O, U. Those are 5 vowels in Swahili. And you also happen to realize that Swahili is made up of syllables with alternating vowel sounds. So you find a word, for example, dirisha. Dirisha, it simply means a window. Dirisha. That is simply meaning a window. And in that particular word, for example, a window, we do have the D, the re, sorry, let me put it down, D, the re, and we have the sha. So the dirisha, in that particular word, we have 3 syllables. You have 3 syllables. And this is the syllable D, the syllable re, the syllable sha. The syllable D, of course, has a vowel E. The syllable re has a vowel E. And the syllable sha has the vowel A. So therefore, Swahili is a language that is made up of words with syllables that have alternating vowel sounds. So for example, in the word dirisha, for example, in the word rudi, if you're talking about rudi, rudi is a verb which means to return or come back. It means to return or come back. So that is a simple word. It only has 2 syllables. The rudi, has 2 syllables, the ru and the d. So the ru has a syllable u and the d has a syllable e. So if you're talking about rudi, For example, someone might tell you Rudi Sasa, Rudi Sasa. If someone says Rudi Sasa, it means come back now or return now. The SASA happens to mean now, and is not to be confused with what we do say sana. Sana is another different word, but sana means a lot. Sana means a lot, or sana means very. For example, if I do say karibu sana, maybe you just get it into class, and I did say karibu sana, it simply means you are much welcome. Karibu means welcome, but if I do say sana, sana is more of an emphasis, and therefore you should not confuse sana for sasa. Sana is means a lot. It should not be confused for sasa. I always keep on reminding us not to confuse the two words. And if you're talking about, maybe for example, you're very appreciative, someone has accorded you some privilege. For example, they have answered your call, to, or maybe they have answered your plea for help. Therefore, you will tell them Asanti sana. Asanti sana simply is for thank you so much. Asanti sana is for thank you so much, or thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. When someone has accorded you actually maybe a request, your request has been answered, you can simply tell someone Asanti sana, and it's not even difficult. But when it comes to sasa, sasa is simply a word in Swahili that shows urgency. It simply shows urgency. And at the end of the day, if you're talking about maybe perhaps you want something done right now, for example, kula, chakula, sasa. Chakula is for food and kula is for eating. So if someone says kula, chakula, sasa, they mean that you ought to eat your food right now. If someone says kunywa maji sasa, it simply means that you ought to drink your water now. So you realize that at the end of the day, those things can happen. And when you put on that particular phrase sasa, it simply means now, and you ought to do whatever they are requesting right now. That is what you simply do, and that is what you simply tell them. Kunywa maji sasa, or kula chakula sasa. The SASA is simply to show the urgency in that issue, and you show the urgency by saying now.
Mimi dada, brother man, hebu someni kwa bidii, ndio mje mjini hapa nyumbani. Sisi sio matajiri, ila tunayo akili. Chochote unachohitaji ukikifanyia kazi, yeye atakibariki. Ila wewe usisahau kuomba, na kila unapoomba niombe, nikuombe, kwani maombi yangu pekee hayawezi. Niombe, maombi yangu pekee hayawezi. By now, every day on day. Ba-da-bum-bum-ba-bum-bum. Yes, he knows. And every other day. Everywhere you wanna go. Unapohitaji kuenda, yeye atakufikisha. Yes, he will be there. Weka imani kwake, shida zako zote. Hakuna
So I just played as a song right there. It's known as Niombe, and Niombe is by Ben Soul. It's actually a very good Swahili jam. It simply means pray for me. Apologies for a bit overheat, but I was I was just telling us that if you're trying to thank someone for maybe a courtesy that, or maybe something that they have done for you, what you simply say is asante sana, and that is not to be confused with the word sasa. Sasa is for now. For example, if someone says nipe maji sasa, nipe maji sasa, it means give me some water. Nipe is a word for give. Nipe is N-I-P-E, is for give me, give me. So if someone says nipe maji, it means give me water. Nipe maji, nipe maji, it simply means give me water, give me water. But if at all they said sasa after whatever they just told you, sasa, sasa simply means now. For example, if someone says nipe maji sasa, for example, someone says nipe maji sasa, nipe maji sasa, it means that there's an urgency to that issue. It means that there's an urgency to that issue, and they want that matter addressed now. So nipe maji sasa is give me some water now. Give me some water now. Give me some water now. Sasa. Sasa is for right now. So for example, if it says ninataka kulala sasa, ninataka is I want. It's a very, very popular phrase. It means I want. So if you say it, ninataka kulala. Lala means to sleep. Lala means to sleep. So if it says ninataka kulala sasa, the SASA that you add there, sasa means now. I want to sleep now. That would be I want to sleep now. So if you wanted to say I want to eat, you would say ninataka is I want. Ninataka kula, K-U-L-A, kula means to eat. Kula means to eat. So if someone says kula sasa, K-U-L-A, kula sasa, it means eat now. Eat now. So therefore, if you did say ninataka kula chakula sasa, it means I want to eat some food now. If you said ninataka kula keki sasa, it means I want to eat a cake right now. If you did say ninataka kunywa maziwa sasa, it means I want to drink some milk right now. If you did say ninataka kula nanasi sasa, it means I want to eat a pineapple right now. So sasa shows that urgency, or it shows that it's happening right now. So if you did say also nimefika sasa, fika means to arrive. Fika, F-I-K-A means to arrive. So if someone says nimefika sasa, the ni is a syllable which points to self. It's a syllable that points to self. So if you did say nimefika sasa, it means I have arrived right now. I have arrived right now. For example, if you're with a friend and they happen to travel back home or travel to some other place, and you're asking them, what time did you get home? What time did you get home? And they replied and told you, nimefika sasa. It's simply understood to be, I have just arrived right now. Now, right now. Sasa is for right now. So when you're talking about some of those particular words and phrases that are very, very popular in Swahili, sasa is very popular. Sana is very popular. Yesterday we were talking about also, when you're talking about quantities, we talk about mingi for a lot and kidogo for a little. For example, if you say kula chakula kidogo sasa, kula chakula kidogo sasa, the kidogo, we said yesterday that kidogo is also very popular because kidogo shows a measure of something small. It shows quantity. So if we did say maji kidogo, maji is for water, M-A-J-I, maji kidogo, that would be a little water. That would be a little water. Maji kidogo. So I was given an example. If you're talking about something which is in a small bit, then you would actually say maji kidogo. If you're talking about some food, you would actually say chakula kidogo. If you're talking about maybe safari is actually a journey, and you're trying to go on a journey which is maybe for a few days, you might say safari kidogo, which means journey which is not like a prolonged journey. And that is what you would actually say if you're trying to give examples and if you're trying to show that whatever you're talking about is maybe small, you would actually say kidogo. But if you're talking about huge, large in size, you would say kubwa. You would say kubwa. If you're talking about size, you would say big in size. For example, gari kubwa. Gari kubwa is Gari. Gari means a car. Gari means a car or a vehicle. So if we're talking about a huge vehicle, you simply say kubwa. Whatever you're describing, this is just an adjective. Adjectives, we call them vielelezi, because vielelezi, it means that you're explaining or you're trying to describe. To eleza is to describe. Eleza is to explain or to describe. Explain. And therefore, if you're talking about explaining about the size of something, then you would say, for example, gari kubwa or gari ndogo. That is what you would say in that regard. You're trying to explain that the car is huge or the car is small. So if you're trying to explain something, maybe perhaps it's in a large quantity, you would actually say mingi for a lot in terms of a lot. But if you're saying that the size of an item is huge or the size of something is huge, you simply explain that by saying kubwa for huge, kubwa for huge. For example, you might say gari kubwa. Or, for example, if you're talking about a huge TV, you would actually say televisheni kubwa. Televisheni kubwa, it means a huge TV. That is exactly what you saw. If they're asking you what were they carrying, you might say they just bought. Wamenunua, nunua means to buy. Wamenunua televisheni kubwa. N-U-N-U, nunua televisheni. Nunua simply means to buy. So if someone says nunua gari kubwa means to buy a huge car. To buy a huge car. If someone says nunua televisheni kubwa, it means to buy a huge television set. If someone says whatever they're describing, for example, maybe they're talking about an aeroplane, a plane. So that would be ndege kubwa. Ndege means ndege can either mean two things. Ndege can either mean two things. A bird, it can also mean a plane. A bird, it can also mean a plane. For those who make a joke and ask, was it a bird or was it a plane? In Swahili, it does not change. Whether it's a plane or whether it's a bird, in Swahili, funny thing, it does not change. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? This is a simply ndege. So if you do see a huge plane, you would actually say ndege kubwa. But if you did see a huge bird, you would actually say ndege kubwa. The will make a difference because we shall be learning about noun classes. we do have what we call the or a class of noun. And this or class of noun is actually very, very simple because it constitutes all sorts of things that are living. You talk about living things. For example, you might say mkubwa, you might say ndege mkubwa, you might say about maybe mnyama mkubwa because it's a living thing. You might say about anything that is huge. We'd actually refer to them as being something huge because it's actually big. You'd say mkubwa. The is a class of noun which shows that things are living, and this is in their singular form. And then you do have them also in their plural form as wa. So that is the wa class of noun, which we shall be getting to learn as we proceed with this Swahili learning right here on this particular platform. Remember, there are so many things. There are so many things that we shall be getting to learn, and we have some of the previous classes that we have already done right here on this particular channel, and others you can find some of those classes on the BlackHotFire Network Africa channel. And once you are on there, you can refer to some of these particular videos that talk about these noun classes. So therefore, you would actually be in the rightful place because you would be able to find those particular videos on there. Apart from that, there are many other resources that you can use, and these resources, they include the Duolingo app. So this Duolingo app, they would be including ways in which you can translate word from Swahili into English, or English into Swahili. That would be able to you'll be able to find that help from the Duolingo app. Apart from that, there's also another resource which is actually watching music videos, or actually film and movies, which is done in Swahili. And these videos, they do have subtitles. You know, when they do have subtitles in English, they will therefore be able to understand what they are talking about. You'll be able to know what is going on with that. We shall share a short video, and then we shall be right back after this one.
Mama, Papa, naomba baraka kwenyu niondoke mimi, dada, brother man, ebu someni kwa bidii ndio mje mjini hapa nyumbani. Sisi sio matajiri, ila tunayo akili. Chochote unachohitaji ukikifanyia kazi, yeye atakibariki. Ila wewe usisahau kuomba, na kila unapoomba niombe, nikuombe.
Be able to also learn Swahili faster is actually maybe listening to some Swahili music. For example, the jam I just played you, it's known as a niombe. Niombe simply means pray for me. And he's talking about hapa nyumbani sisi sio matajiri. It simply means here at home we are not rich, but we just make it day by day, simply by staying hopeful of better days. That is what the song is actually going on about. And the artist is actually known as Ben Sol, talking about, you know, his mama, praying for him. That is the request he's making to his mama. But nonetheless, you can also learn Swahili simply by using the dictionary. Swahili dictionary is known as the Kamusi. If you look for the Kamusi, you can be able to find the translations of some of these particular words. Maybe perhaps you're trying to learn the language. Maybe if you're being introduced to the language. Another thing that I do find very, very important is having maybe some friends, or maybe having a family member, or having a colleague who can keep you accountable on this journey of learning a beautiful language of Swahili. Swahili is spoken by over 200 million people on the continent and even off the continent. And therefore, this is a language that will be able to unite people because, you know, because of these barriers that you have because of colonization. We did have, you know, countries, you know, barriers being put up and people not being able to even get across. But what happens is when you do have one language is actually a bridge that will help us reconnect with the roots and also help us conduct business. It's a language of commerce in Tanzania. If you go to Tanzania and you're trying to learn something, for example, if it's you're learning geography in class in Tanzania, the language of instruction in Tanzania is Swahili. If at all you're trying to learn some physics or chemistry or whatever you're trying to learn in Tanzania, that is done simply through the language of Swahili. If you go to Uganda, it's also an official language. If you go to Kenya, it's also the language of communication. If you go to Burundi, there are many Swahili speakers. Of course, the Burundi people are colonized by the French, so you'll find them speaking in French and also speaking in Swahili, among other different languages in Burundi. If you go to Kigali, Rwanda, you will find so many Swahili speakers, and therefore you will be rightfully placed if you did have some knowledge of Swahili. So for the whole part of the Eastern African region, and also for the southern part of Eastern and Southern parts, you will find even people speaking in Swahili. Even in Zambia, you might be surprised going to a place like Lusaka, and you cannot really just, it would be difficult, not finding people who are speaking in Swahili in Lusaka, Zambia as well. Even in their music, they have made it a point to make their music also in this language of Swahili, and therefore it is actually a good thing for you to learn the language. I believe in the near future, we shall also find people in South Africa being able to speak eloquently in Swahili, simply because a couple of years ago, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a memorandum signed between the government of South Africa and the government of Kenya, so that there would be Swahili teachers being taken to South Africa, and also helping them develop that curriculum to teach Swahili language in their country. So it's actually a good thing that we are seeing even the SADC, which is the Southern African Development Corporation, also embracing Swahili. And I also do hope that ECOWAS does the same. ECOWAS is an economic bloc for West African states. I do hope that they also try to now adopt Swahili, because that would actually be a good thing. We did have West Africa also speaking in Swahili. That would open up doors, and it would actually turn around the whole concept of integration of the African continent. It would actually be a very, very good thing. Nonetheless, we are saying that if you're talking about the size of something, it can be small, and for small we say ndogo. It can be huge. For huge we say kubwa, kubwa. For example, if you're talking about a big plate, you would say sahani kubwa. S-A-H-A-N-I means a plate. So if you're talking about a big plate, you would say sahani kubwa, sahani kubwa. Kubwa is an adjective just describing the size of that plate. So you would say sahani kubwa, sahani kubwa. That means a big plate, a big plate, a big plate, a big plate, a big plate. If you're talking about a spoon, you can also say kijiko kubwa, a big spoon, kijiko kubwa, kijiko kubwa, for a big spoon, a big spoon, a big spoon. So if you went somewhere and you're trying to have a meal, and you wanted to order a big, whatever you were trying to, maybe a huge burger, you might say you will use the word kubwa simply just to describe the size of whatever it is that you are looking for. And remember, in Swahili, we do not have the letters X and Q. We do not have them constituting the consonants in Swahili. So I'm talking about Q and X. And therefore, if you do find any word that has an X or a Q, that is not Swahili. So therefore, you can even check the writings and see that they do have some X's and some Q's in this language. Then you realize that that is not Swahili language. We do not have that constituting the consonants in Swahili. But all the letters of the English alphabet, apart from A, E, I, or U, those are the vowels. All the letters of the English alphabet, they make up the consonants, apart from X and Q, and apart from the 5 vowels, which we already established that the vowels are A, E, O, and U. Those are the 5 vowels. So those 5 vowels, you also separate them, and you also put aside Q and X. So the rest that remains in the English alphabet, this constitutes the consonants in Swahili. And apart from that, we have established that we do have the special class of consonants that put together two consonants. For example, S and H, C and H, D and H, T and H, the NG, and also the NG with an apostrophe. These we call the special class of consonants. We call them the special class of consonants. For example, if you're talking about the word ng'ombe, ng'ombe is a cow. Ng'ombe is a cow, but has the NG with an apostrophe. And then we do say ng'ombe mkubwa, ng'ombe mkubwa. That would be a huge cow. But you do find that that is ng'ombe, NG, with an apostrophe. And that is exactly what you do say it as. If you're talking about maybe something that has life, that is living, and you're trying to describe them as being huge, you must add the at the start of that particular description. So therefore, you would say ng'ombe mkubwa, because they are living. They are an animal. They are living. If you're talking about a cat, you found a wild cat and it's huge, you would say paka mkubwa, which is a big cat, a big cat. That would be paka mkubwa, paka mkubwa, because you're describing them as being huge, paka mkubwa. I don't know if it makes sense, but if you do have a question and you would like to ask a question, please kindly do. We are talking about vowels. We're also talking about consonants. We are also talking about some common popular words and phrases in Swahili. Some common popular words and phrases in Swahili. And I've said that if you're talking about something small, maybe you wanted a little bit of some water, and you're talking about the quantity, you would say maji kidogo for a little bit of water. If you're talking about food, you would say chakula kidogo for a little bit of food. If you're talking about coffee, you would say kahawa kidogo for a little bit of coffee. If you're talking about a little bit of milk, you would say maziwa kidogo, just to mean that you want a bit of just a small amount of milk. If you're talking about maybe something that you're requesting for, you would say nipe maji kidogo. Nipe is give me, nipe maji kidogo. And if at all they served you water in a glass, you would take it and then say asanti sana kwa maji. Thank you so much for the water. Yesterday we did say that if you're trying to create an icebreaker and you're trying to introduce yourself, maybe perhaps what you would say is, if you're trying to introduce yourself, you would actually say, ninaitwa Spikes je wewe, ninaitwa Spikes je wewe. And that would be after you say hello to them. You would simply say jambo. If you did say jambo kaka, you would say jambo kaka, and then say jina langu ni Spikes, which is my name is Spikes. Je wewe, or you can ask wewe je. Wewe is you're pointing to someone else. That is the second person singular. Wewe, you would actually say wewe je. Wewe is pointing to you. But if I was pointing to myself, I would say mimi, M-I-M-I, mimi, ninaitwa Spikes. Je, wewe now points to yourself. And you would actually say, maybe perhaps your name is Michael, maybe perhaps your name is Jackson, maybe perhaps your name is Stella, maybe perhaps your name is Mary, whatever your name would be, then that would simply be whatever you tell them. Whatever you tell them. You say mimi ninaitwa Stella, or mimi ninaitwa Michael, or mimi ninaitwa Jackson, or mimi ninaitwa Juma, or jina langu ni Juma. Jina langu is simply my name. Jina langu is simply my name. Jina langu is simply my name. My name, and therefore, if it is jina langu ni Juma, then of course people would understand that to be my name is Juma. If it did say jina langu ni Spikes, then that would be understood to be my name. My name is Spikes. If it did say jina langu ni Mary, then that would be my name is Mary. Je, wewe. And then if you're asking someone je wewe, they might respond and say mimi ninaitwa Mary, or mimi ninaitwa Stella, or mimi ninaitwa Monica, or whatever your name would be, you'd have to put it there. And that is simply how you get your conversation started after saying hujambo. After saying hujambo, which is simply hello. After saying hujambo, which is simply hello. After saying hujambo, which is simply hello, you say hujambo. Jina langu ni Spikes. Je, unaweza kunielekeza mahali fulani? That would be, would you give me an assistance getting to a particular place? Mahali means a place. Mahali means a place. Mahali, H-M-A. Mahali means a place. So if you're talking about ningependa unielekeza mahali fulani, it simply means I would like you to assist me. I'll give me the direction of a particular place, and that is simply how you do say it. It's not difficult. It's very, very easy. And if you do have a question, you can always ask. If not, you can simply also write maybe perhaps an email. And the way you would do that is writing an email straight. That would be blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com. Africa at gmail.com, and I will be able to respond to you properly. Maybe perhaps regarding a particular question, or maybe perhaps you wanted that we organize a session. Maybe perhaps you wanted that we organize a session where you are able to learn, the language. Then that would actually be very, very much easy. It would be very, very much easy for you to learn, because maybe perhaps the timings does not work for you, and maybe perhaps you're looking for a particular time that would be much, much better for you. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you do have a question, always feel free to ask. Even as you wind up, I think I should just play as a jam, which is by let me see what jam we shall wind up with. I think this is actually by Viri, and the one and only BN. This particular jam. Let me know what you think about the jam, and also how has your journey been learning Swahili? Has it been difficult, or is it something that you feel is much more achievable now that you're able to find this particular platform?
What a waste, baby, tumejiseti we on the highway. Tukafunga breki, tukaanza bishana, asking who is Diana, vipi mnajuana. I swear, tumejibetray, baby, tumejiseti, cause love isn't here right now. I guess we'll never know mali hii story ingeenda. Tulichoanza kuja tumalize, kinachokwaza baby ziandike, punguza drama baby zitushike, washa kishada. I don't wanna argue, kako sawa miko sawa, kako sawa miko sawa. Akizile vitu tulipanga, ukanishukisha namba, najua misi hiki tanda, ile visa na visanga.
That is a track by BN. Is known as Niko Sawa. Niko Sawa simply means I'm okay. If you're trying to interpret that, Niko Sawa simply means okay. And Sawa is SAWA, which means well or okay. Sawa means okay. And I think we touched that yesterday. We did say there are three words: sana, which means a lot. There is sasa, which means now. And sawa means okay. For example, if someone says uharigani, uhaligani, they are asking how are you. They are asking what state are you in, and you might say how are you. That would be how are you. That is how are you, and that is how are you, and you might say niko sawa. You might say niko sawa, or you might say niko salama. So if you did say niko sawa, it means I'm okay. If you did say niko salama, it also means the same. Niko salama, it means I am well, or I am okay. It also means the same. And there's also another similar word that we did learn, which means njema. For example, if someone asks habari yako, you might also respond and say njema. Habari yako, habari yako, which is how are you, how are you. You would respond and say salama, niko salama. You might say niko salama, niko salama, niko salama, or you might say njema, niko salama, or you might say njema, njema, habari yako, njema. Njema means well as well. Njema means well, or it means okay. It means well, or it means okay. So therefore, you do have different options. When someone asks you niko habari yako, you might say nzuri, nzuri, which means good. Nzuri, which means good. Nzuri, which means good. Or you might say salama, or you might say vyema, njema, or vyema. Because if someone asking habari yako, you might say nzuri, you might say salama, or you might say even poa. Poa simply means okay, but poa is more of a slang. Poa is not really Swahili, but poa is also a way in which you can respond. Habari yako, you might say poa, or you might say salama, or you might say nzuri, because nzuri is the most accurate in terms of that. But it's not always that you're doing well. If, for example, someone was to ask you habari yako and you're not doing very well, maybe perhaps you're having a tough day, it's a very, very rough day, you might respond and tell them mbaya, because mbaya is the opposite of good. Mbaya simply means bad, and your day is going very, very bad, and therefore you would simply say mbaya for a bad day. Siku mbaya. Mbaya means bad, and therefore you might say siku mbaya, imekuwa na siku mbaya, which means bad. So if you say nimekuwa na siku mbaya, it's understood to mean I have had a bad day. Nimekuwa means I have had. Nimekuwa na siku mbaya. That means I have had a bad day. I have had a bad day. Had a bad day, because siku means day. Siku means day. So you might have 2 days, siku nzuri, which means a good day, or you might have a bad day, which means siku mbaya. And those two are properly normal. You might have a very good day today, a very bad day tomorrow, or vice versa. But that is just the way life is. Once again, thank you so much for having been with us on this particular segment. I do hope that you pick an interest in learning this beautiful language of Swahili. It's not difficult. Like I did say, we do have over 200 million speakers of the language. That means it's a very, very prolific language, and it's growing, and many people are adopting the beautiful language. So in case you haven't picked that interest to learn Swahili, please make sure you do. And there are so many resources online that are vast. You can be able to just find these resources on our YouTube and even on other platforms. For example, the Duolingo app, you will be able to find that. We also do have this official network website. You can check it out, www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. Once you are on there, please feel free to enjoy the radio. And you can also be able to catch up with the podcast, as well as other things, the videos, their shows, their blogs. There's also a store where you can be able to get some apparel, or even some other different items on there. To support, you can also click on this tab, which is a donate, and you would be able to support the network by any means that you would like to support the network through. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Pite. Much peace and love. Till next time, I do hope to catch you next weekend on a Saturday or on a Sunday, when we get to connect and get to learn this beautiful language of Swahili, which is also celebrated on the International Day of Swahili, being on the 17th of July. Every other year, the 17th of July is marked as the International Swahili Day. And it's actually a good thing, because we are able to highlight the significance and the importance of this beautiful language. Peace and love. I want to wish you a happy and a productive week ahead. For me, Spikes, I do say kwaheri, kuwa na siku nzuri, kuwa na wiki mzuri, ama kuwa na wiki njema. That is, have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead, which is productive. Stay optimistic, stay positive, and actually things will look up depending on how, what kind of energy you also put into everything that you are doing. Stay positive, stay optimistic. Till next time, much peace and love. Say kwaheri.